The first phase of President Trump's Gaza peace plan was completed today with the reopening of Gaza's Rafah border crossing. And of course, this follows last week's return of the final deceased hostage. So what's ahead? Well, Tony recently spoke with Senate Intel Committee member Senator Ted Budd about this for his weekly or weekend program this week on Capitol Hill. I'd like to share some of that conversation with you right now. And here's how Tony got it all started.
So, Senator, let's talk about the situation in the Middle East, starting with Gaza, with the return of the last hostage, the body of the last hostage from Gaza. Are we now entering into phase two?
We are. That was a great marker. And this was something that we started in October of 2023 when this tragedy happened on October 7th, because there was a North Carolinian, Keith Siegel, that was captive. So we focused on it, and then it became a much broader issue. But finally, and Keith was returned to his wife, Aviva, who had been held captive, Keith for over a year, Aviva for 50 days. But there were so many didn't survive. And it's important to all of us in America that support freedom to return every single hostage, and unfortunately some of those didn't survive. But this does help us get to the next phase. But again, the key focus now is the future of Hamas, because I don't think there should be any future for Hamas. Just remember, if Israel were to lay down their arms, there would be no Israel. But if Hamas were to lay down their arms and to vanish, there would be peace. So they're an agitator. They're a proxy of Iran. It's a horrible effect that they have on Gaza in the Middle East, and we just need to make sure that there is no future for Hamas.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Senator, because they're not. It doesn't appear that they're willing to lay down their arms and walk away from this. And they have two strategic allies that appear to be on the peace board, Turkey and Qatar, which have been a place, really a safe haven for Hamas.
Yeah, it's a real problem. I mean, we have a member of NATO in Turkey, and then you have them essentially supporting Hamas, whether financially or logistically. And then you have a collaboration between Qatar, because they share the northern gas field with Iran. So they've got long ties to Iran. It's very concerning. Now, we do have 10,000 of our troops there outside of Doha at Al Udeid Air Base. But so we work with them, we collaborate with them where we can, but it's very concerning that they would be demonstrating quasi support for Hamas.
Now, Senator, you serve on the both Armed Services and the Senate Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. The world is a very dangerous place. There is a lot happening right now. We've got Iran. And of course, we're moving more assets into that region. How do you see that playing out?
Well, I think as Americans, we're tired of forever wars. But if you look at how the president has handled issues like Operation Midnight Hammer back last summer, or if you look at how he handled Maduro, there's a buildup. And remember, the buildup is to give military leaders options to present to the president. But the president does not want forever wars. We don't want that either. We don't want boots on the ground. It's a very complex situation. But if we're there and we're present, then we have options to present to the president, or the military does. So that's what we're looking for next. We don't exactly know how this will play out, but we know what we don't want, and that is a permanent presence in Iran.
The headlines do not tell the whole story. Again, the benefit you have serving on these two committees, you have a responsibility to kind of keep an eye on the entire world and where things might be flaring up. What is not in the headlines that concern you?
Well, I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned about space. We talk about that some, but you know, the adversaries are numerous. You have your state actors, you have the Irans and the North Koreas and Russia and China, but you have tremendous concerns, cyber actors that may be inside or outside of those countries. You have our national debt, which is tremendously concerning. We spend well over $1 trillion now, and the president wants to plus that number up. And it's the right number. We need to continue to do that. but we also need to be more efficient in how we spend those military dollars. But I am grateful. And in the past several years with the intelligence community, we've had to scrape off a layer of concern of individuals that they were actors against the administration. They worked against President Trump. But those folks that are in the intelligence community, I'm tremendously grateful for them around the world, whether it's analysts or those case officers in the field. They do a lot of work for us, and I'm grateful for them. We should keep them in our prayers. And they love our country, and we need to make sure that we give them our support, as well as those in uniform and military around the world.
Senator Budd, speaking of prayers, you have made it a part of your focus in the Senate to be watching for and advocating for the persecution of Christians and other religious minorities around the world. We're seeing that in many places, and it's intensified. We've seen it in Nigeria. We're seeing it right now unfolding in northeast Syria, where Syrian forces are moving in on the Kurdish forces that have long been the protectors of religious minorities. What can we do? And I'm with you. I don't think we need, as a Marine veteran, I don't want to see more boots on the ground. But just by what we focus on and prioritize, that sends a pretty strong message to the rest of the world.
Yeah, President Trump has done surgical strikes in Nigeria against Boko Haram and others that are leading religious persecution. And so if he would continue to do that, use our intelligence assets, because once these anti-religious freedom assets or individuals and groups and ideologies take hold, they tend to give way to ISIS and other very noxious forces in the world. So religious freedom gives freedom in so many other ways. It's not just about whether or not someone can publicly pray or go to church or not. It actually prevents a lot of other bad forces from occurring. So I like his surgical and precise strikes. And also, even before that, using the diplomatic leverage that we have with these countries. I think, China does it with Silk Road. Russia does it in so many different ways, illicitly. And I think the more we use our diplomatic leverage and then also precise strikes, the better off that we'll be.
That was Tony's fascinating discussion with Senate Intel Committee member Senator Ted Budd. If you want to catch more from that program, visit thisweekoncapitolhill.com. Thisweekoncapitolhill.com, or better yet, get the Stand Firm app. Simply text app to 67742.